Glasgow. A city known for its vibrant culture, friendly locals, and a rich history that dates back centuries. Glasgow is a place where the old meets the new, where historic buildings stand alongside modern architecture, and where the spirit of the people is as strong as the stone walls that have stood for generations. The mighty River Clyde flows through the heart of the city, a lifeline that has witnessed the rise and fall of industries, the ebb and flow of fortunes. It's a river that carries with it the stories of countless lives, a silent witness to the city's ever-changing landscape. But beneath the surface, a darkness festers. In the shadows of its alleyways and the dimly lit corners of its streets, a different Glasgow exists. One that is hidden from the tourists and the casual observer, a world where danger lurks and secrets are kept. When Jamie Murray was arrested, it sent shockwaves through the city. The news spread like wildfire, dominating headlines and conversations. It was a moment that many had anticipated, yet it still came as a surprise to see it finally happen. He wasn't just another thug on the street. Jamie Murray was a name that carried weight, a figure that loomed large in the underworld of Glasgow. His arrest was not just the capture of a criminal, but the fall of a kingpin. The accusations against him attempted murder, conspiracy, and involvement in a brutal gang war that had gripped Glasgow for far too long. These were not just petty crimes, they were the actions of a man who had orchestrated violence and chaos on a grand scale. The gang war had left a trail of destruction in its wake, with families torn apart and communities living in fear. It was a conflict that had simmered for years, erupting into violence that seemed to have no end. The arrest was a long time coming. For months, the police had been gathering evidence, piecing together the puzzle that would finally lead to Murray's downfall. It was a meticulous process, one that required patience and determination. The streets had been whispering about Murray for months, his name spoken with a mix of fear and respect. He was a figure that inspired both dread and admiration, a man who had managed to stay one step ahead of the law for so long. His name was a constant presence in the underworld, a ghostly figure that seemed to be everywhere and nowhere at once. People spoke of him in hushed tones, aware that even mentioning his name could bring trouble. He was a ghost, a shadow, someone everyone knew but few had actually encountered. His ability to evade capture had become almost legendary, adding to the aura of invincibility that surrounded him. His arrest was a victory, but at what cost? The city had been shaken to its core, the underworld exposed for all to see. It was a moment of triumph for the police, but also a reminder of the darkness that still lurked beneath the surface. As dawn broke over Glasgow, the city reflected on what had been gained and what had been lost. It began like any other Friday night. Pubs were overflowing, laughter echoed through the streets, and a sense of carefree abandon hung in the air. But in the blink of an eye, everything changed. Gunfire erupted in the heart of the city, shattering the night's tranquility. Over 20 shots were fired. The air reeked of gunpowder, and the screams of the injured pierced the night. When the chaos subsided, 2 souls lay lifeless on the pavement, their lives cut tragically short. 3 others clung to life, their fates hanging precariously in the balance. The city held its breath. Fear, palpable and suffocating, settled over Glasgow like a shroud. The police launched a full-scale manhunt, determined to bring the perpetrators to justice. Every available officer was deployed, their faces grim, their resolve unshakable. Leads were followed, witnesses interrogated, and evidence painstakingly pieced together. The investigation led them deep into the city's underbelly, a labyrinth of alliances, betrayals, and deadly vendettas. 15 arrests were made, each one a step closer to the truth, but Jamie Murray remained elusive, a phantom taunting the authorities. Glasgow's gang violence wasn't new. It was a festering wound, passed down through generations like a sinister inheritance. Turf wars, drug trafficking, and a twisted sense of honor fueled the endless cycle of violence. The statistics were grim. Gang-related crimes had surged by 30% in recent years, overwhelming authorities and leaving communities terrorized. The police were outmatched, outgunned, and struggling to contain the escalating violence. Behind every statistic, a life was shattered, a family torn apart. Section 5. Whispers in the streets. Rumors about Jamie Murray spread like wildfire. Some whispered that he was a ruthless kingpin, controlling a vast criminal empire. Others claimed he was a scapegoat, a patsy framed by more powerful players. The truth, as always, was far more complex. Murray was a product of his environment, shaped by the streets that had become both his home and his prison. He was a survivor, a fighter, but somewhere along the way, he had crossed the line. Section 6. A family affair? The investigation took a surprising turn when two names surfaced: James and Connor Murray, father and son. Their involvement in the case added a new layer of complexity, raising questions about the nature of their relationship and their roles in the criminal underworld. Were they masterminds or mere pawns in a larger scheme? Both had been arrested months earlier in a massive drug bust, a high-profile operation that had made headlines across the country. The raid had been the culmination of months of surveillance and undercover work, and the evidence gathered was overwhelming. Their home was found to contain a small arsenal and enough cocaine to flood the city. The sheer volume of drugs and weapons suggested a well-organized operation, one that had been running for some time. Was this a coincidence, or was there a deeper connection, a familial tie that bound them to Jamie, and the violence that seemed to follow him like a curse? The Murray family had always been close-knit, but this revelation cast a shadow over their relationships. Friends and neighbors were shocked, unable to reconcile the image of the loving family they knew with the criminal activities that had come to light. Was this a case of a family gone astray, or were they victims of circumstance, drawn into a world of crime against their will? The police weren't sure, but they knew one thing: blood ran thicker than water. The investigation now had to consider the possibility that the Murray family was more deeply involved in the criminal network than previously thought. Detectives pored over files, looking for any connections that might link the Murrays to other known criminals. In the murky world of organized crime, family ties could be both a strength and a liability. The Murray's story was far from over, and as the investigation continued, more secrets were bound to be uncovered. The question remained: would these revelations bring the family closer together, or tear them apart? Section 7. The long arm of the law. Despite the challenges, the police remained relentless. The streets of Glasgow had seen better days, but the men and women in blue were determined to restore order. They worked tirelessly, often putting their own lives at risk to ensure the safety of the citizens. The police force, though stretched thin, showed an unwavering commitment to their duty. Their presence was a constant reminder that the law was ever watchful, ever present. Detective Inspector Gordon Smith, a man who had dedicated his life to serving and protecting, became the face of the investigation. Known for his sharp intellect and unyielding resolve, Smith was a beacon of hope for many. His career, spanning over 2 decades, was marked by numerous accolades and commendations, yet it was his deep connection to the community that truly set him apart. He wasn't just a figure of authority, he was a guardian, a protector, and a friend to many. His dedication was personal, fueled by a deep-seated desire to bring peace back to the city he called home. Every piece of evidence, every lead, was meticulously examined. Smith's office was a testament to his commitment, with walls covered in maps, photographs, and notes. Each detail, no matter how small, was a potential key to solving the case. His colleagues often marveled at his ability to connect the dots, to see patterns where others saw chaos. "We will not rest," he declared in a press conference, his voice echoing with quiet determination. The room was filled with reporters, their cameras flashing, capturing every word. Smith's message was clear: the police would not be deterred. They would continue their pursuit no matter the obstacles. His words were not just a promise, they were a vow, a commitment to the people of Glasgow. "We will not allow fear to grip this city." His statement was met with nods of approval from the audience. The community, though shaken, found solace in his words. They knew that with leaders like Smith at the helm, they were in capable hands. The police force under his guidance was more than just a group of officers. They were a symbol of hope and resilience. "We will find those responsible and bring them to justice." The determination in his voice was palpable. The police force sprang into action, conducting raids, making arrests, and following every lead. Their efforts were relentless, driven by a shared goal of restoring peace. The streets, once filled with fear, began to see a glimmer of hope. The community watched as their protectors worked day and night, their faith in the system slowly being restored. His words resonated with the public, offering a glimmer of hope in a time of darkness. The citizens of Glasgow, though wary, began to believe in a brighter future. Public events saw increased attendance, with people coming together to support one another. The applause that followed Smith's speeches was not just for him, but for every officer who stood by his side. It was a testament to the enduring spirit of the city, a reminder that even in the darkest times, hope could still shine through. Section 8. A Glimmer of Hope. Jamie Murray's arrest was a turning point. It sent a clear message: no one was above the law. The streets, though still on edge, felt a tentative sense of relief, but the fight was far from over. The cycle of violence once set in motion was difficult to break. There would be more battles, more losses, and more families torn apart. Yet, amidst the darkness, there was a glimmer of hope. Section 9. Scars Remain. Glasgow would forever bear the scars of that night. The memory of the victims would linger, a somber reminder of the human cost of gang violence. Jamie Murray's trial loomed, promising to expose the darkest secrets of the city's underworld. The city held its breath, bracing for the storm to come. But even in the face of adversity, the spirit of Glasgow remained unbroken. It was a city forged in fire, resilient and determined to rise above its troubled past. The fight for peace had just begun.